Once upon a time, there was no happily ever after. Unlike the modern reimagining of fairy tales like Cinderella, Snow White, and Rapunzel adapted by Disney, the Juniper Tree is one of the Brothers Grimm's most infamous fairy tales, packed with the signature dark, unsettling themes and gore. This story is far too dark and graphic for Disney's signature style. Its themes of murder, cannibalism, and supernatural revenge make it one of the most disturbing tales in the Grimm collection. Definitely not something Disney would turn into a family-friendly movie. Long ago, a wealthy man and his devout wife had everything except a child. In their yard stood a juniper tree beneath which the wife would spend her days, consumed by longing. One winter, while sitting beneath her tree, she cut her finger while eating an apple. As red droplets of blood fell onto the snow, she sighed wistfully. If only I had a child as red as blood and as white as snow. A familiar wish, but here, its consequences are far darker. As if fate had heard her. She was suddenly overwhelmed by a sense of certainty. She knew a child was coming. Months passed, the juniper berries ripened, and in her joy, she devoured them by the handful. Juniper berries, after all, are both medicinal and toxic. Some heal, others poison. Her health rapidly declined, and with her last breath, she begged her husband, "If I die, bury me beneath the juniper tree." And so she did die, but not before bringing into the world a son as white as snow and red as blood. Her husband mourned, but as grief often does, his pain softened over time. He eventually remarried, and with his new wife, had a daughter. But this story is not about maternal love. It is about unchecked envy, psychological unraveling, and an atrocity beyond comprehension. The stepmother adored her own daughter, but the mere presence of her stepson gnawed at her insidiously, eroding her sanity. Resentment metastasized into obsession, her paranoia sharpening into something monstrous as her stepson's presence fueled her unspoken vengefulness with every passing day. One day, when the boy was away at school, his sister asked their mother for an apple. Innocuous, right? But the mother, standing before a heavy-lidded chest with an iron-sharp lock, a detail the tale emphasizes, withdrew an apple, and at that very moment, she saw her stepson returning home. An uncontrollable impulse surged through her. Her daughter, with childlike innocence, asked, "Is brother not to have one too?" The mother's fragile grip on rationality shattered. She seized the apple back. "You will have none before your brother," she declared, waiting for the boy to step inside. He entered cautiously. "Mother, why do you look so angry?" She forced a smile. "My son, do you want an apple?" "Yes, mother." "Then take one for yourself." He leaned over the chest, and in that moment, she was overtaken once more. The lid crashed down. The boy's severed head tumbled among the red apples. Silence. But silence is often the mother of madness. Staring at what she had done, the stepmother's mind fractured. Like a marionette, on instinct, she devised a grotesque solution. She retrieved a white scarf, positioned the boy's body upright in a chair, and carefully placed his head back upon his shoulders, securing it neatly with the scarf. An apple in his lifeless hand completed the illusion. Then, as if the universe itself mocked her, her daughter entered. "Mother," the little girl said, "brother looks pale. I asked him for an apple, but he didn't answer. I'm scared." The mother, stirring a pot at the stove with unsettling composure, replied, "If he does not answer, box his ears." The girl obeyed. The head fell. The scream that followed was unlike any she had ever heard. Her mother turned sharply. "Daughter, what have you done?" The horror-stricken girl collapsed in sobs. But her mother, having now fully surrendered to the madness, leaned in and whispered, "This is our secret. It cannot be helped now." And then, in an act so unthinkable that it echoes the darkest corners of mythology, she cooked her stepson's remains into a stew. The girl, drowning in guilt, wept into the pot. Convenient, her mother mused, for the stew needs no salt. When the father returned home, he asked for his son. "Oh, he has gone to visit relatives," the mother lied, "but he is well cared for." The father frowned. It isn't right that he left without saying goodbye. His unease was short-lived, for the stew before him smelled delicious. And so he ate. With every bite, his daughter sobbed harder. With every swallow, his wife's hands clenched tighter. With every moment, the walls of reality closed in. That night, the grieving sister gathered her brother's bones in her finest silk scarf and buried them beneath the juniper tree. Tears of blood stained the earth. Then, something extraordinary happened. The tree trembled, a mist arose, flames erupted from within, and out of the fire soared a magnificent bird, its voice ethereal, sorrowful, undeniable. The sister, for the first time, felt a strange serenity wash over her. She went inside and ate, as though her brother lived once more. The bird, now a revenant, took flight. At a goldsmith's shop it sang, "My mother, she killed me. My father, he ate me. My little sister who loved me, gathered my bones, tied them in silk, laid me beneath the juniper tree. Tweet, tweet, what a beautiful bird am I." The song, both haunting and mesmerizing, was impossible to ignore. The goldsmith, enchanted, offered a golden chain in exchange for another verse. The bird accepted. Next, it visited a shoemaker, trading another round of its sorrowful tune for a pair of red shoes. Then, to a mill, where captivated workers exchanged their freshly carved millstone for the eerie melody. Finally, the bird returned home. Its father, hearing the tune, felt a peculiar joy and anticipation of something long lost returning. The mother, however, grew paralyzed with dread, as though fate itself had come knocking. As the bird descended, it dropped the golden chain upon its father, the red shoes to its sister, and the millstone straight upon its mother. She was crushed instantly. As she perished, the bird transformed into the boy, whole, alive, reborn. Now what psychology says about it? The stepmother adoring her own daughter is a stark contrast with the devouring shadow of envy caused to her by her stepson for no reason. The mere presence of her stepson gnawed at her insidiously, eroding her sanity. Freud would have called this an extreme case of the complex, where women are either saintly nurturers or dangerous threats. But here, the division was not external. It was within herself. She perceived the boy as a rival to her daughter's inheritance, an unbearable thorn in her vision of security. This was first. Second, the story talks about resentment metastasizing into obsession. The stepmother's paranoia sharpened into something monstrous. Eventually, she became consumed by what psychologists now call cognitive distortion, where the perception of reality becomes so skewed that irrational beliefs feel like absolute truths. And so, she made his life a waking nightmare. But psychological erosion does not stagnate. It escalates, culminating in a cold-blooded murder. And she doesn't stop at that. Staring at what she had done, the stepmother's mind fractured. So our third point, psychological terms this as dissociation, a defense mechanism where unbearable reality is split from conscious awareness. Like a marionette on instinct, she devised a grotesque solution. She showed no hesitation, no remorse in shackling her beloved daughter with the lifelong burden of guilt for her stepbrother's murder. The story ends not with justice, nor revenge, but with a supernatural balancing of fate, where evil is annihilated, innocence is restored, and psychological trauma is transmuted into myth. Because in fairy tales, as in psychology, the ghosts of the past never truly vanish. They return, and they sing.